Let's talk some Miami Hurricanes recruiting. I know we haven't talked Miami recruiting in a whole week, and that's because the Canes were on a bye, but that didn't stop Mario Cristobal and his staff from recruiting. We got CaneSport insider Izubee Charles on the show. We're going to go behind the scenes of some of the most important remaining targets on the board for the Miami Hurricanes. But first, Canes fans, do me a favor. Get locked in. Hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel, the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube. So jump on board for me, please. All right, let's bring in Izubee Charles from CaneSport. Izubee, last week, Miami landed their 23rd commitment, and of course, it was a flip. We're talking edge Hayden Lowe from USC, but they aren't done. Miami trending for a name that's been on the radar for a while, and that's Vero Beach linebacker TJ Alford. Started getting some expert predictions rolling in on the recruiting prediction machine this week for TJ Alford to Miami, but when could this happen?
Yeah, I could see this happening, as early as this week, maybe even this weekend. Miami's really been pushing for TJ Alford, and very similar to that Hayden Lowe flip from USC. Alford's a guy that committed to a Big Ten program, but Miami stayed in the race, got him on campus twice this fall for games, and they're using his ties to South Florida to try to push that as well too. Kind of let him know, hey, you don't have to go all the way up to Ohio to have a successful college career and pretend to go to the pros. You can do that, where you're from down in South Florida in front of your family. And I feel like the Hurricanes have done a great job of maintaining a healthy relationship with Alford. And I think, very, very soon we'll see him come off that board and flip to the Canes potentially. Like I said earlier, this recruiting cycle, it's a tradition like no other. Miami's flipped a prospect from Ohio State for the past two cycles, specifically from the state of Florida. So I think they get it done for a third straight year with TJ Alford.
Mark Fletcher, Jordan Lyle, now TJ Alford. We'll see maybe by the end of the week. Big news for the Canes there. Now, wanted to talk about five-star wide receiver Dallas Wilson. He showed up in Gainesville over the weekend. It seems like UF might be the team. If anybody's going to flip him from Oregon, it might be UF. Do you get a sense that the Canes are sort of fading here in the Dallas Wilson recruitment?
Yeah, this one was definitely an interesting recruitment right now. Before that big win versus LSU, Dallas Wilson came out and said, hey, Miami and Florida are right in that number 2 spot behind Oregon. And, after that big win against the Tigers, he said, Florida's taken that number 2 spot, to themselves. And he'll be back in Gainesville this upcoming weekend for an OV. So I do think, things got a little bit more difficult for the Canes. That uphill climb, was a little bit harder for those guys. But I'm not counting out, Mario Cristobal and his staff by any means in that recruitment. I think they're going to fight to the 12th hour for Dallas Wilson, a guy that they very, very, very much value in that 2025 class. I think he can be a guy that can make a huge impact for the Canes early on. So right now, I do think, momentum swinging a little bit towards the Gators' way, but I'm not counting out Mario Cristobal and those guys by any means.
All right, 2 more DB flip targets I want to talk about. And these guys we've been talking about throughout the entire cycle, and we knew it would come down to the end for both Ben Hanks, who's committed to UF, and DJ Pickett, LSU. Both DBs highly coveted by this Miami staff. What's the latest on this pair of in-state flip targets?
Yeah, so I'll start with Ben Hanks, another local guy from Miami, Booker T. Washington High School, that the Hurricanes are very, very high on. Slowly but surely, been chipping away at his recruitment, and I do think they've made some good room in that recruitment. But with the Gators retaining that Florida staff with Billy Napier coming back, I do think that had a bit of an impact in things. But I do think Miami's still going to continue to pursue him, and that's going to come down to signing him. With DJ Pickett, the number 1 prospect in Florida, Miami's all in on him. He was supposed to visit Florida last week. It ended up in Georgia. This upcoming weekend, I recently spoke with his father. As of right now, they won't be taking any visits anywhere. They'll be at a family camping trip out of state. So we'll have to see how that goes. But, he also said Miami's making a strong push. Coach Mario Cristobal is leading that charge for the Hurricanes. And I really do think this one comes down to signing day. I think this one comes down to the last hour, to the wire, with, LSU, Florida, Georgia, and Miami all making a strong push to try to, flip him from the Tigers. So I think this recruitment's going to be, one of the most interesting, as we get down to that signing day.
Yeah, these in-home visits, Mario and the Loafers, he's going to have some work to do, but it's shaping up to be a great class. Top 10 right now, pushing for top 5. Who else are you keeping a close eye on as we head down to the stretch?
Yeah, the biggest guy left on the board, I think that's uncommitted, is top 100 linebacker Kellen Wy out of Tampa Armwood High School. This upcoming weekend is going to be taking his official visit down to Miami. He's been down there a few times this season, but kind of this one's the big one. He took an OV to Texas, in the past few weeks, and the Longhorns are really a team to watch. But I do think with Miami getting that last crack, that final swing, I think things could potentially swing their way momentum wise and could get really interesting like we talked about earlier on the show, TJ Alford is another flip target at the linebacker position. And, they'd love to add Kellen Wy to that class to kind of be that cherry on top for that linebacker group.
That'd
in
be
the
a
2020.
nasty group right there, Kellen Wy and TJ Alford. So we'll see what happens. I mean, Kellen Wy's been a really interesting name on Miami's board because they were recruiting him before he had any stars next to his name. Now we're talking about him as a top 100 prospect. It was just a couple months ago, it feels like, that, Kellen Wy was a name on the radar. Now he's a big-time target. Really exciting time, Izubee. Thanks for dropping by. Canes fans, talk to us. Who is your most important target heading forward, and what do you guys think about DJ Pickett? Let us know. Comment section below.